The 90-Minute Focus Formula. Unlock Peak Productivity in Less Time, written by Ronnie Rowland. Published by Growth Literacy Lounge. The successful warrior is the average man, with laser-like focus. Bruce Lee. Distraction has become the default mode of modern life. We wake up and check our phones before getting out of bed. We sit down to work but get pulled into emails, messages, and social media. Hours pass, and despite feeling busy, we've accomplished little of real value. The ability to focus, truly focus, feels like a lost art. But what if mastering your attention was the key to unlocking your greatest potential? This book is not about working harder. It's not about cramming more into your day or forcing yourself to grind through exhaustion. Instead, it's about working smarter by aligning with how your brain naturally operates. The secret? Learning to harness 90-minute cycles of deep focus, followed by intentional recovery, to produce more in less time, without stress or burnout. Science has already shown us the path. Researchers have discovered that the brain functions in ultradian rhythms, natural cycles of high and low energy that last about 90 minutes. Top performers in every field, from Olympic athletes to world-class musicians, structure their practice around these cycles. Yet most people ignore this science, working in ways that sabotage their productivity rather than enhance it. You'll learn the 90-minute focus formula, a simple, repeatable system that maximizes focus while eliminating the distractions that drain your time and energy. You'll discover how to design your work environment for deep concentration, how to retrain your brain to resist interruptions, and how to build daily habits that make focus effortless. Most importantly, you'll realize that focus is not just a skill, it's a competitive advantage. In a world where most people are overwhelmed, scattered, and distracted, those who can control their attention will outperform, outthink, and outlast the rest. By the time you finish this book, you won't just understand focus, you'll embody it. You'll know exactly how to structure your day for maximum productivity, and you'll have the tools to maintain deep work habits for life. Are you ready to reclaim your time, sharpen your mind, and unlock your peak performance? Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Attention Crisis: Why We Struggle to Focus in a Distracted World. There was a time when deep focus was the norm. Before smartphones, social media, and endless notifications, we could sit with a task and lose ourselves in the work. Today, distraction is everywhere, and our attention spans are shrinking. Studies show that the average person's ability to focus has dropped significantly in the last 2 decades. The problem isn't just that distractions exist, it's that we've trained our brains to crave them. Think about the last time you sat down to work on something important. Within minutes, an urge to check your phone creeps in. A quick glance turns into scrolling, and before you know it, 30 minutes have vanished. This isn't just lack of willpower. It's neurological conditioning. Every time we give in to a distraction, our brain releases dopamine, reinforcing the habit. We become addicted to fragmented attention. The cost? Productivity plummets, deep thinking becomes rare, and mental fatigue sets in faster than ever before. The modern workday isn't designed for focus. Emails flood in, meetings stack up, and Slack messages demand constant attention. The expectation is to be always available, always responsive, but this constant switching between tasks isn't just inefficient, it's exhausting. Research from the American Psychological Association confirms that task switching can reduce productivity by as much as 40%. Each time we shift focus, our brain takes time to reset. These small lags add up, draining mental energy and leaving us feeling overwhelmed. The irony is that most people don't even realize the extent of their distraction. We assume that being busy means being productive. We mistake movement for progress. But true productivity isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters, deeply and without interruption. If you've ever ended a long workday feeling exhausted, but with little to show for it, you know this feeling well. The real enemy isn't lack of effort, it's the inability to focus long enough to make meaningful progress. This is where the 90-minute focus formula comes in. Unlike traditional productivity methods that emphasize working harder or longer, this system is built on the way your brain naturally functions. The key insight is this: the brain works best in cycles of deep work followed by deliberate rest. These cycles, known as ultradian rhythms, last about 90 minutes. When we align our work with these natural rhythms, we maximize efficiency, avoid burnout, and sustain peak mental performance throughout the day. Most people don't think about focus as something that needs to be trained. But just like physical fitness, cognitive endurance is something you build over time. Right now, distraction has rewired your brain. Your ability to sit with deep, focused work for extended periods has likely atrophied. But just as muscles grow stronger with consistent training, your brain can be retrained for intense concentration. The 90-minute focus formula is your training plan. Imagine sitting down to work, fully immersed, with no distractions pulling at you. Time slows down, and the work flows effortlessly. You get more done in 90 minutes than most people accomplish in half a day. Then, instead of pushing through exhaustion, you step away, allowing your brain to recover. When you return, you're recharged and ready to go again. This isn't just a theory, it's how high performers across industries structure their work. Writers, CEOs, athletes, and artists all use focused sprints followed by intentional breaks to maximize output. Right now, you might be skeptical. Can something this simple really make a difference? The answer is yes, but only if you commit. The reason most productivity strategies fail is that they fight against human nature. Willpower alone won't save you from distraction. You need a system that works with your brain, not against it. The 90-minute focus formula is that system. Over the next chapters, you'll learn exactly how to implement this formula in your daily life. You'll discover how to create the perfect deep work environment, eliminate distractions, and train your brain for sustained concentration. You'll learn the science behind why this works and how to make it a habit. Most importantly, you'll finally regain control of your attention and productivity. Right now, you have a choice. You can continue struggling with fragmented attention, constantly battling distractions, or you can take control of your focus and work smarter, not harder. The solution is in front of you. The next step is yours. Chapter 2. The Science of Focus: How Your Brain Works in 90-minute Cycles. Your brain isn't designed for constant focus. It operates in natural cycles, shifting between periods of high energy and recovery. These cycles, called ultradian rhythms, last about 90 minutes. During this time, your brain can function at peak capacity, allowing you to work deeply and think clearly. But once that cycle ends, your mental energy starts to decline. Pushing past this point leads to fatigue, mistakes, and a sharp drop in productivity. The key to working smarter isn't forcing yourself to focus longer, it's structuring your work to align with these natural rhythms. Most people work against their brains without realizing it. They power through long hours, skipping breaks, answering emails in between tasks, and staying glued to their screens. But science shows that this approach doesn't lead to better results. Instead, it drains cognitive resources, making it harder to concentrate. Research from Stanford University found that working too long without rest leads to diminishing returns. After a certain point, your efficiency drops, and the quality of your work suffers. Think about a time when you were in the zone, fully immersed in a task. The world around you faded, and your work flowed effortlessly. This state, often called deep work or flow, is when your brain operates at its highest level. But you didn't stay in that state forever. At some point, your focus wavered, and your mind started wandering. This isn't a sign of laziness, it's biology. Your brain was signaling that it needed a break. Ignoring that signal and pushing through only makes things worse. The reason the 90-minute focus formula works is because it respects how your brain naturally functions. Instead of forcing long, unproductive work sessions, it optimizes your cognitive performance. When you sync your work with ultradian rhythms, you tap into peak focus while sidestepping mental burnout. This isn't just a theory, it's a proven strategy used by top performers in every field. From best-selling authors to world-class athletes, from visionary CEOs to master musicians, the highest achievers all follow the same principle: that deep work paired with intentional recovery. Consider professional athletes. They don't train for 8 hours straight. Instead, they follow intense training sessions, followed by deliberate rest. This allows their muscles to recover, grow stronger, and perform at higher levels over time. Your brain works the same way. If you continuously stress it without allowing for proper recovery, your performance suffers. But if you train it in cycles, you increase your ability to focus, process information, and produce high-quality work. One of the biggest mistakes people make is thinking that breaks are a waste of time. In reality, strategic breaks are what allow you to sustain peak performance. The key is taking the right kind of break. Scrolling through social media, checking emails, or watching random videos doesn't count. These activities keep your brain in a state of low-level engagement, preventing true recovery. Instead, the best breaks involve stepping away from screens, moving your body, hydrating, or engaging in light mental relaxation. This gives your brain the reset it needs to go back into deep work mode. If you've ever experienced that afternoon slump where your brain feels foggy and slow, it's because you're not working in alignment with your natural rhythms. Instead of pushing through, try structuring your day around 90-minute work sessions followed by intentional recovery. You'll notice an immediate difference in your ability to concentrate, solve problems, and get things done efficiently. The 90-minute focus formula is a simple yet powerful way to tap into your brain's full potential. But like any new habit, it requires commitment. Most people won't do this because they assume they're different, that they can handle constant work without breaks. But science proves otherwise. Your brain isn't an unlimited resource. If you want to perform at your best, you need to work with it, not against it. In the next chapter, we'll dive into one of the biggest productivity myths holding people back: the belief that working more hours equals getting more done. You'll see why traditional work habits are broken, and how shifting to a smarter approach can help you achieve more in less time. By understanding how your brain truly works, you can finally take control of your focus and unlock the productivity levels you've always wanted. Chapter 3: Breaking the Productivity Myths. For years, we've been taught that success comes from working harder and putting in longer hours. The more time you spend at your desk, the more productive you are, at least, that's the assumption. But if this were true, why do so many people feel overworked, exhausted, and stuck in a cycle of endless busyness without meaningful progress? The reality is that working more hours doesn't mean you're getting more done. In fact, research shows that after a certain point, longer workdays actually reduce productivity rather than increase it. One of the biggest myths in modern work culture is that effort equals results. We glorify long hours, late nights, and the hustle mentality as signs of dedication and ambition. But the world's top performers, whether in business, sports, or the arts, don't succeed by working themselves into the ground. They succeed by working smarter, focusing on high-impact tasks, and knowing when to step away to recharge. Science backs this up. Studies show that the human brain has a limited capacity for deep work each day. Beyond that threshold, cognitive performance drops, mistakes increase, and creativity suffers. Consider the famous study conducted by Stanford University, which found that productivity per hour sharply declines when people work more than 50 hours per week. After 55 hours, the drop becomes even more dramatic. Someone working 70 hours a week gets no more done than someone working 55. This is because of cognitive fatigue. Your brain simply can't maintain peak performance indefinitely. The longer you work without proper rest, the more your efficiency deteriorates. Think about a time when you forced yourself to push through exhaustion. Maybe you spent hours on a project, only to realize later that your best ideas and insights came at the beginning, not the end. Your mental energy wasn't limitless, and the longer you worked, the harder it became to think clearly. This is why so many people feel like they're constantly working but never making real progress. They're caught in a cycle of diminishing returns, mistaking effort for effectiveness. The 90-minute focus formula flips this outdated approach on its head. Instead of grinding through long, unproductive hours, it optimizes the time you do spend working. By structuring your day around focused 90-minute sprints, you get the best of both worlds: intense productivity without burnout. High achievers don't succeed because they work longer. They succeed because they work in alignment with how their brains function best. Look at some of the most successful figures in history. Charles Darwin, for example, worked only a few highly focused hours per day yet produced groundbreaking scientific work. Writers like Ernest Hemingway and Stephen King follow structured writing routines that prioritize deep focus over long, drawn-out work sessions. Even elite athletes train in intense bursts, followed by rest and recovery. The pattern is clear. Success isn't about time spent, it's about focus applied. If you're still skeptical, consider this. In a typical 8-hour workday, studies show that the average knowledge worker is only truly productive for about 3 hours. The rest of the time is lost to distractions, unnecessary meetings, and mental fatigue. Yet most people continue pushing through, thinking that sitting at a desk for longer will somehow lead to better results. The truth is, most of that time would be better spent in recovery, allowing the brain to reset for the next deep work cycle. The real challenge isn't finding more hours in the day, it's making the most of the hours you already have. The goal is to shift from a mindset of working longer to working more effectively. That means identifying your highest value tasks, eliminating distractions, and structuring your work into focused intervals. It means rejecting the myth that busyness equals productivity and instead embracing a smarter, more strategic approach. In the next chapter, we'll dive into the mechanics of deep work and how to design the perfect 90-minute sprint. You'll learn how to set up your environment for success, eliminate distractions before they derail your focus, and create a workflow that maximizes efficiency. By applying these principles, you'll break free from the outdated work habits that keep you stuck and finally unlock the full potential of your focus. Chapter 4. The 90-minute deep work sprint, your blueprint for laser focus. Most people don't struggle with focus because they lack discipline. They struggle because they've never been taught how to structure their work for peak concentration. Deep work isn't something that just happens, it's something you have to create intentionally. The 90-minute focus formula is designed to eliminate distractions, maximize mental energy, and help you enter a state of flow. When done correctly, a single deep work sprint can be more productive than an entire unfocused day. The key to making this work is preparation. You can't just sit down and expect to focus if your environment is filled with interruptions. Before starting a 90-minute sprint, set yourself up for success. Begin by choosing one high-impact task, something that truly moves the needle. Multitasking kills deep work, so commit to working on just one thing. If you try to spread your attention across multiple tasks, you'll never reach the level of focus required for maximum output. Once you've selected your task, remove anything that could pull you away. Silence notifications, put your phone in another room, and close unnecessary browser tabs. If you're working on a computer, use a distraction blocker to prevent temptation. If possible, communicate with others that you'll be unavailable during this session. Treat this time as a non-negotiable appointment with yourself. Just like a meeting with an important client, it deserves your full presence. Now, set a timer for 90 minutes. The act of setting a clear boundary signals to your brain that it's time to focus. It removes the mental burden of deciding when to stop, allowing you to fully immerse yourself in the task. Once the timer starts, the only rule is to work without interruption. If you feel the urge to check your phone or switch tasks, resist it. These impulses fade quickly if you don't act on them. The longer you stay in deep work mode, the easier it becomes. In the beginning, staying focused for a full 90 minutes might feel difficult. Your brain isn't used to this level of sustained attention, especially if you've spent years bouncing between distractions. This is normal. Think of focus like a muscle. If it's weak, it needs training. The first few sessions may feel uncomfortable, but each one strengthens your ability to concentrate. Over time, deep work will become second nature. One of the most powerful ways to enhance deep work is by using a pre-session ritual. Just like athletes have warm-up routines before competing, you can use a ritual to prime your brain for focus. This could be as simple as taking a few deep breaths, reviewing your task list, or playing a specific song before you start. These small cues tell your brain that it's time to enter work mode, making the transition smoother. Equally important is how you handle the end of a session. When the timer goes off, step away from your work immediately. Give your brain a chance to reset before jumping into anything else. Avoid the temptation to check emails or social media right away. Instead, engage in a true recovery activity, stretch, take a walk, or simply sit in silence for a few minutes. This allows your mind to recharge so you can enter your next session feeling refreshed. The magic of the 90-minute focus formula is that it helps you get more done with less effort. Instead of relying on willpower to push through long, exhausting workdays, you're using science to your advantage. By working in sync with your brain's natural rhythms, you make focus effortless. This is why high achievers in every field structure their days around deep work sprints. It's not about working longer, it's about working smarter. In the next chapter, we'll explore the recovery phase and why rest is just as important as focus. You'll learn how to take breaks that actually restore your mental energy, allowing you to sustain peak performance throughout the day. Mastering deep work is only half the equation. To reach your full potential, you must also master recovery. Chapter 5. The recovery phase: why rest is the secret to peak performance. Most people think productivity is all about working harder, but the real secret lies in how well you recover. After an intense deep work sprint, your brain needs time to reset. Ignoring this recovery phase leads to burnout, mental fatigue, and diminishing returns. High performance isn't about how long you can work, it's about how well you balance work and recovery. The most productive people in the world don't just work differently, they rest differently. Your brain isn't a machine. It can't maintain peak focus indefinitely. Just as a weightlifter wouldn't train the same muscle group for hours without rest, you can't expect your mind to sustain deep work without breaks. The 90-minute focus formula works because it respects how the brain functions. The first half is about maximizing focus. The second half is about restoring energy so you can maintain that focus throughout the day. The biggest mistake people make is treating breaks as unimportant. They either skip them entirely or take the wrong kind of break, scrolling through social media, checking emails, or watching videos. These activities don't allow your brain to recover. Instead, they keep it in a low-level state of engagement, preventing true restoration. To get the full benefits of the formula, you need to take intentional breaks designed for mental reset. A proper recovery phase lasts between 20 to 30 minutes. During this time, you should completely disconnect from your work. Step away from your desk, move your body, and avoid screens if possible. Walking is one of the best ways to reset your mind. Studies show that light physical activity increases blood flow to the brain, improving cognitive function and creativity. Many of history's greatest thinkers, from Steve Jobs to Albert Einstein, relied on walking as a tool for mental clarity. Hydration is another key component of effective recovery. Even mild dehydration can impair focus and decision-making. Drinking water during your break helps replenish energy levels and keep your brain functioning at its best. Pairing hydration with deep breathing or meditation can further enhance recovery by lowering stress and resetting your nervous system. One of the most overlooked aspects of recovery is allowing your mind to wander. When you step away from focused work, your subconscious continues processing information in the background. This is why breakthrough ideas often come during moments of relaxation, while taking a shower, going for a walk, or doing something completely unrelated to work. By giving yourself space to think freely, you unlock creative problem-solving and new insights. Some of the world's top performers use structured recovery techniques to maximize their output. Olympic athletes, for example, spend as much time on recovery as they do on training. They understand that pushing harder without rest leads to injury and decreased performance. The same principle applies to knowledge work. The best way to sustain deep focus is by balancing it with quality recovery. If you've ever experienced an afternoon energy crash, it's likely because you skipped proper breaks. Your brain wasn't designed to power through back-to-back work sessions without rest. Instead of trying to fight through mental exhaustion, embrace the natural rhythms of peak performance. By alternating deep work with strategic recovery, you'll accomplish more in a day than most people do in a week. The biggest challenge in implementing this is breaking the habit of overworking. Many people feel guilty stepping away from their desks, believing that rest equals laziness. But the opposite is true. When you recover effectively, you work better, think clearer, and make fewer mistakes. High achievers don't avoid breaks, they optimize them. In the next chapter, we'll tackle one of the biggest barriers to deep work: procrastination. You'll learn why the brain resists starting difficult tasks and how to overcome inertia instantly. By mastering both focus and recovery, you'll set yourself up for a level of productivity most people never achieve. Chapter 6. Beating Procrastination: How to Start Your 90-Minute Session Without Resistance. Procrastination isn't just about laziness. It's a battle between your present and future self. Right now, checking your phone or scrolling through social media feels more rewarding than starting a challenging task. Your brain craves instant gratification, even when you know that deep work will lead to better results. The hardest part of any task isn't doing it, it's starting. Once you overcome that initial resistance, momentum takes over, and everything becomes easier. The reason we delay important work is because of friction. When a task feels overwhelming, your brain seeks escape. The trick to overcoming procrastination isn't willpower, it's reducing friction. By making it easier to start, you bypass hesitation and enter a state of focus before your brain has a chance to resist. The simplest way to do this is by using the 5-minute rule. Tell yourself that you only need to work on the task for 5 minutes. This removes the pressure of a big commitment and tricks your brain into starting. Most of the time, those 5 minutes turn into full engagement, and the hardest part, getting started, is behind you. Another effective technique is environmental design. Your surroundings influence your behavior more than you realize. If distractions are within reach, your brain will crave them. If your workspace is cluttered, your mind feels scattered. Set up your environment for success by removing distractions before you start. Put your phone in another room, close unnecessary browser tabs, and create a workspace that signals focus. The fewer obstacles in your way, the easier it is to begin. Procrastination often happens because we don't define our tasks clearly. Vague goals create uncertainty, and uncertainty leads to avoidance. Instead of saying, "I need to work on this project," break it down into a clear, actionable step. For example, I will write the introduction to my report in the next 90 minutes. The more specific the task, the less room there is for hesitation. Clarity removes the mental burden of deciding where to start, making action automatic. Your brain also responds to triggers. If you've ever felt sleepy as soon as you got into bed, that's because your brain associates that environment with sleep. You can use this same principle to create a pre-work ritual. A simple action, like playing a specific song, making a cup of coffee, or taking a deep breath, can become a cue that tells your brain it's time to focus. Over time, this ritual becomes automatic, making it easier to transition into deep work mode. One of the biggest mistakes people make is waiting for motivation. Motivation is unreliable. Some days you'll feel energized and ready to work. Other days you won't. High performers don't rely on feeling motivated, they rely on systems. They commit to showing up, no matter how they feel. The secret to consistency isn't forcing motivation, it's creating a structure that makes action inevitable. This is why the 90-minute focus formula is so effective. It removes decision fatigue and creates a predictable rhythm for deep work. Another powerful way to break through procrastination is accountability. When you commit to someone else, you create external pressure to follow through. Tell a colleague, friend, or accountability partner what you plan to accomplish in your next 90-minute session. Better yet, schedule a check-in where you report your progress. Knowing that someone else expects results makes it harder to justify delays. If you've ever put off a task for days, only to realize it wasn't as difficult as you thought, you've experienced the illusion of procrastination. The task itself isn't the problem, the resistance to starting is. By reducing friction, creating triggers, and building accountability, you make starting effortless. Once you begin, momentum carries you forward, and deep work becomes natural. In the next chapter, we'll tackle the silent killer of productivity, distractions. You'll learn how to identify hidden time wasters, eliminate interruptions before they happen, and create an environment where focus thrives. By combining focus strategies with distraction-proofing techniques, you'll unlock a level of efficiency most people never experience. Chapter 7. Distraction Detox: Eliminating the hidden time killers in your day. Distractions aren't just occasional interruptions. They are the silent killers of productivity, constantly pulling your attention away from deep work. The modern world is designed to steal your focus. Social media apps are engineered to keep you scrolling, email notifications demand instant responses, and meetings fill your calendar with little to show for it. The result? Your day is fragmented, your brain is scattered, and deep focus feels impossible. The average person checks their phone over 150 times a day. Each time you do, your brain rewards you with a small hit of dopamine, reinforcing the habit. This cycle conditions you to seek instant gratification, rather than sustained concentration. The real cost isn't just the minutes lost, it's the mental residue that lingers after every distraction. Studies show that even a brief interruption can take up to 23 minutes to recover from. Multiply that by dozens of distractions, and it's easy to see why most people struggle to complete meaningful work. The first step to reclaiming your focus is identifying your biggest distractions. For many, it's their phone. Endless notifications, social media, and mindless browsing create a constant pull away from deep work. One simple fix is to enable Do Not Disturb mode during your 90-minute sessions. Better yet, put your phone in another room. The further it is from you, the less temptation there is to check it. Email is another major culprit. Most people check their inbox reactively throughout the day, breaking their concentration every time a new message arrives. Instead of keeping your email open, schedule specific times to check it, once in the morning, once in the afternoon, and once before the end of the day. Outside of those windows, close your inbox entirely. If something is truly urgent, the person will find another way to reach you. Meetings are another major time drain. Many professionals spend hours in unnecessary meetings that could have been handled with a quick email or message. Before agreeing to a meeting, ask yourself, does this require real-time discussion, or can it be resolved asynchronously? If you must attend, set a clear agenda and stick to it. Protecting your deep work time means being ruthless about what you allow on your calendar. One of the most overlooked distractions is a cluttered workspace. Your environment shapes your behavior, often without you realizing it. A messy desk can lead to scattered thinking, while a clean, organized space signals focus. Take a few minutes before each deep work session to remove any unnecessary items from your workspace. The fewer visual distractions, the easier it is to concentrate. Another powerful strategy is using time blocking. Instead of reacting to whatever demands come your way, schedule your day in advance. Allocate specific time slots for deep work, meetings, emails, and even breaks. When you time block your day, distractions have less room to creep in. You create a structure that supports focus rather than fights against it. Technology can be both a source of distraction and a tool for focus. Consider using website blockers like Freedom or Cold Turkey to prevent access to distracting sites during deep work sessions. Noise-canceling headphones can also help by blocking out background noise and creating a more immersive work environment. Small adjustments like these compound over time, leading to significant improvements in your ability to focus. Ultimately, eliminating distractions isn't just about removing external interruptions, it's about retraining your brain. If you've spent years in a state of constant distraction, it will take time to rebuild your focus. Start small. Commit to a single 90-minute session free from distractions. Then build from there. The more you practice, the easier it becomes. Deep work is a skill, and like any skill, it strengthens with use. In the next chapter, we'll explore another crucial element of peak productivity: managing your energy. Focus isn't just about time, it's about how well you manage your mental and physical resources. You'll learn how sleep, nutrition, hydration, and movement all play a role in sustaining deep focus. By optimizing your energy levels, you'll take your productivity to an entirely new level. Chapter 8: The Energy Equation: How to Optimize Your Brain for Maximum Output. Focus isn't just about time management, it's about energy management. You can have the perfect schedule, a distraction-free environment, and a clear to-do list, but if your energy levels are low, none of it matters. Your ability to concentrate isn't just a mental game, it's directly tied to your physical state. The way you sleep, eat, hydrate, and move determines how well your brain functions. If you neglect these areas, no productivity hack will save you. Most people assume that feeling tired means they need more sleep. While that's often true, Energy management goes beyond just getting 8 hours of rest. The brain requires a steady supply of nutrients, oxygen, and movement to function at its best. When you fail to fuel your body properly, you create a cycle of sluggishness, brain fog, and poor concentration. Understanding how to maintain high energy levels throughout the day is the key to sustaining deep focus. Sleep is the foundation of cognitive performance. Without it, everything else suffers. Studies show that even mild sleep deprivation impairs attention, decision-making, and memory. The brain clears out toxins during deep sleep, making it essential for focus and productivity. To improve sleep quality, aim for a consistent bedtime, minimize screen exposure before bed, and keep your room cool and dark. Small adjustments can have a massive impact on your ability to stay sharp throughout the day. Hydration is another critical but often overlooked factor. The brain is nearly 75% water, and even a 2% drop in hydration levels can lead to fatigue and reduce concentration. Many people rely on caffeine for energy but forget that water is just as important. Instead of reaching for another cup of coffee, start your morning with a full glass of water. Throughout the day, keep a bottle nearby and sip regularly. Hydration directly affects cognitive function, so don't underestimate its power. Nutrition plays a huge role in focus. Processed foods, excessive sugar, and refined carbs cause energy crashes, leaving you drained and unfocused. Instead, prioritize brain-friendly foods like lean proteins, healthy fats, and complex carbohydrates. Omega-3s from fish, antioxidants from berries, and healthy fats from nuts help fuel the brain for sustained performance. The goal isn't perfection, it's making smarter choices that support your energy rather than deplete it. Movement is another energy booster. Sitting for long periods slows circulation and reduces oxygen flow to the brain, leading to sluggishness. Taking short movement breaks can reset your energy levels almost instantly. A quick walk, stretching, or even standing up for a few minutes can make a noticeable difference. If you want to maintain high energy levels, build movement into your day, rather than waiting until exhaustion sets in. Caffeine can be a useful tool, but it should be used strategically. Relying on coffee or energy drinks to push through fatigue creates a cycle of dependency. Instead of using caffeine as a crutch, time it wisely. Consuming it too late in the day can interfere with sleep, leading to a downward spiral of low energy and poor focus. If you use caffeine, pair it with hydration and whole foods to sustain its benefits without the crash. Managing your energy is about making small, consistent choices. It's not about overhauling your lifestyle overnight, but rather optimizing the factors that have the biggest impact on your performance. If you're constantly feeling drained, start by improving one area: better sleep, more hydration, smarter nutrition, or increased movement. Over time, these habits compound, leading to sustained focus and higher output. In the next chapter, we'll explore the myth of multitasking and why it's one of the biggest obstacles to productivity. You'll learn why switching between tasks reduces efficiency, how it affects your brain, and what to do instead. By eliminating multitasking and embracing single-tasking, you'll gain back hours of lost time and dramatically improve the quality of your work. Chapter 9. The Power of Single-Tasking: Why Multitasking is Sabotaging Your Success. Multitasking is one of the biggest productivity myths of our time. We live in a world that celebrates juggling multiple tasks at once, checking emails during meetings, switching between projects, answering messages while working. It feels efficient, but the truth is, multitasking is an illusion. Every time you divide your attention, you're not getting more done, you're just doing everything worse. Your brain isn't designed to handle multiple complex tasks simultaneously. Instead, it rapidly switches between them, creating what researchers call task switching costs. Every time you shift focus, your brain takes time to reorient itself. Even a brief distraction can cause a cognitive lag, meaning it takes longer to get back into deep concentration. Studies show that multitasking can reduce productivity by up to 40% and increase errors. What feels like efficiency is actually draining your brain's processing power. Think about the last time you tried to work while checking your phone. Maybe you responded to a message, then went back to your task. It might have felt seamless, but your brain had to restart its thought process. The more this happens, the harder it becomes to maintain deep focus. This constant switching also increases mental fatigue, leaving you feeling exhausted despite not making meaningful progress. One of the biggest downsides of multitasking is its impact on memory. When your attention is divided, your brain struggles to encode information properly. This is why people often forget details from conversations or tasks they worked on while distracted. Multitasking doesn't just slow you down, it makes it harder to retain what you've learned. If you want to improve focus, efficiency, and retention, you need to embrace single tasking. Single tasking means giving your full attention to one task at a time. It's about working with complete focus, completing the task efficiently, and then moving on. This approach allows your brain to enter a state of flow, where productivity and creativity peak. Instead of constantly resetting your mental energy, you channel it into deep, meaningful work. The easiest way to break the habit of multitasking is to eliminate unnecessary distractions. Start by closing extra browser tabs, silencing notifications, and putting your phone out of reach. If you need to work on something important, dedicate an uninterrupted block of time to it. The 90-minute focus formula is built on this principle. By fully immersing yourself in a single task, you maximize efficiency and minimize mental clutter. Another powerful technique is task batching. Instead of switching between different types of work throughout the day, group similar tasks together. For example, check emails at designated times rather than responding throughout the day. Make phone calls in one block instead of scattering them between other tasks. This reduces cognitive load and allows you to complete tasks faster with higher accuracy. If you struggle with the impulse to check your phone or switch tasks, try the one-tab rule. Keep only one browser tab open for the task at hand. If you need to research something, write it down and look it up later. This prevents distractions from pulling you away and keeps you focused on the present work. One of the greatest benefits of single tasking is mental clarity. When you stop trying to do everything at once, your mind feels less overwhelmed. You experience less stress, fewer mistakes, and greater satisfaction in your work. Instead of ending the day feeling scattered and drained, you finish with a sense of accomplishment. In the next chapter, we'll take things a step further by designing a workday optimized for peak productivity. You'll learn how to structure your schedule around high-energy periods, when to plan deep work sessions, and how to build a routine that supports long-term focus. Mastering single tasking is just the beginning. Now it's time to apply these principles to your entire day. Chapter 10. The 90-minute workday: How to design your schedule for peak productivity. Most people don't struggle with focus because they lack discipline, they struggle because their schedules are working against them. A poorly designed workday forces you to react to distractions, juggle too many tasks, and push through exhaustion. Instead of controlling your time controls you. The key to unlocking peak productivity isn't working harder or longer, it's structuring your day around how your brain naturally functions. The 90-minute focus formula works best when integrated into a well-planned schedule. Your energy levels fluctuate throughout the day, following a pattern known as your circadian rhythm. Understanding these natural cycles allows you to schedule your most important work when your brain is primed for focus. For most people, peak cognitive energy occurs in the morning, dips in the early afternoon, and rebounds slightly in the late afternoon. The mistake most people make is filling their peak energy hours with low-value tasks like emails, meetings, and administrative work. By the time they get to deep work, they're already mentally drained. The most effective workday is structured around your brain's energy peaks and valleys. Start the day with a 90-minute deep work session, focusing on your highest priority task. This is when your mind is at its sharpest, making it the best time for problem-solving, writing, creative thinking, or strategic planning. After this session, take a break to recover, allowing your brain to reset before transitioning to the next task. Mid-morning is a great time for secondary work, tasks that require moderate focus but aren't as mentally demanding. This could include responding to important emails, conducting research, or reviewing notes. As your energy begins to decline in the early afternoon, schedule low-focus tasks like administrative work, meetings, or routine updates. By aligning your schedule with your natural energy flow, you maximize efficiency while minimizing mental fatigue. One of the biggest mistakes people make is neglecting breaks. They try to power through fatigue, thinking that skipping rest leads to greater productivity. In reality, this approach leads to burnout and diminishing returns. Short, intentional breaks between deep work sessions improve mental clarity, enhance creativity, and prevent exhaustion. A simple 5-minute walk, a stretch, or a quick mindfulness exercise can be enough to reset your focus for the next task. Another key to designing a high-performance schedule is batching similar tasks together. Instead of constantly switching between different types of work, group related tasks into focused time blocks. For example, dedicate one block of time to emails and messages, rather than checking them throughout the day. Schedule meetings back to back instead of scattering them across your calendar. This approach reduces cognitive switching costs and allows you to stay in a focused state longer. Your workday should also include intentional wind-down periods. Ending the day with a reflection or planning session helps you stay organized and prevents unfinished tasks from lingering in your mind. Before finishing work, take 5 minutes to review what you accomplished and set priorities for the next day. This simple habit reduces stress and makes it easier to start strong the following morning. Many people resist structured schedules because they fear losing flexibility. But structure isn't about rigidity, it's about creating a framework that supports your productivity while allowing room for adjustments. The goal isn't to control every minute, but to optimize the flow of your day so that your most important work gets done without stress. In the next chapter, we'll address one of the biggest challenges to maintaining focus: what to do when you lose momentum. Even with the perfect schedule, distractions, setbacks, and interruptions will happen. You'll learn how to recover quickly, get back on track, and build resilience so that your focus remains strong no matter what obstacles arise. Take care and be well.